Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are doing a presentation on wildflowers. It's going to be pretty quick today. Not too much to say, just because there's a lot of variability when it comes to wildflowers, but we are going to go ahead and jump in. So let's start out. Wildflowers can be an experience and not just something pretty. I know I actually learned about wildflowers. I first learned about them. You see them around, but I hadn't really paid that much attention. But I learned about them taking a community class. And it was provided through the school system. So they were talking about wildflowers, and I was kind of interested. And so I took notes and what have you. But it's way, way different when you're out and about. That kind of sparked my interest, I'd say, in learning more about them. So um, so I was out and about. I was actually living up by the North Shore, and obviously up on the North Shore of Minnesota, there are a lot of different state parks up there. And so I had done an extensive amount of hiking, and I started noticing these wildflowers on my hikes around about just not all, they weren't all state parks, some were local community parks too, but I started noticing these wildflowers, and I remembered them from the presentation. I was like, oh my gosh, oh, there's Trillium. How cool is that? I'm seeing them out on the trail. And so I started taking photos of all of the wildflowers that I could find. And it's an experience because it's like when I first started, I was saying, "Oh my gosh, it's like a wild fantasy fairyland. Like the forest literally is magic, you know." Because it was so cool to see, and they were so beautiful and just majestic and completely unexpected. These gorgeous little wildflowers, around. I'd been in the woods, so, give me ferns, give me trees, give me whatever, but these beautiful, beautiful little blooms and blossoms were just beautiful. So it was an experience. It was cool to see, and I hadn't been really expecting them, so it was always a surprise to see, oh my gosh, I don't know this one. What is this one? I don't know it. And so it was so cool to actually take those pictures and learn more and more, about these wildflowers. So it was very, very cool. It's not just an experience, but it is kind of, you could argue, a way of life, or and it's not just something pretty, of course, because it's an experience. It's not just an experience, it can turn into a lifestyle. And that actually can be seen in later on. I'm going to show you a website. But it's a cool experience, and it's all just, natural, out in the woods. So it's a complete surprise to see those. And it's definitely a joy to learn about all of those. The one thing though is they are seasonal. I know what the class that I took that was offered through the community was on early spring flowers primarily. That was the focus. And so it was talking, and of course, early spring, they had it sectioned off as like 3 months. So it was a handful of flowers, and they said, this is when you're going to see these blooming, early spring. And then, of course, you have flowers that are summer flowers, and you have the fall flowers, which is what we are seeing here in Minnesota now. It is the end of September. And so people are, of course, these are a lot of them are ornamentals that you'll see now, but people are buying the mums and the marigolds, and you'll still see some sunflowers, late season sunflowers, and um, so the goal obviously is in an ecosystem to be able to provide for birds and insects all year long. So we need that biodiversity in order to take care of all of those creatures. So it's good when you see, constant or consistent flowers throughout the year. But of course, some places they might be more wild, and some places might be more ornamental. Some places might be more conscientious of place and what it might be actually native there. And other people are, might not care as much. I know, and it's hard to tell what exactly is native and what isn't. Just, obviously with widespread flowers. Some of them are, of course, invasive, like daisies. There is a daisy that is invasive, and we have daisy fleabane as well, which is very commonly seen as well. I don't know if it is argued as invasive at this time in Minnesota, but you will see them kind of in a lot of different places. So, um, but um, but it is variable. What is actually native to Minnesota? How many are you going to see? And can you say, like, beyond a reasonable doubt that this is a native Minnesotan plant, or if it is something that was purchased from a bag of seeds that was shipped in from California, bulk seeds versus something that you would get from the DNR. And so you can actually reach out to the DNR about seeds that are specifically associated with Minnesota, that are specifically from Minnesota. They do seed collections probably every season. I actually got to participate in some of those, which was really, really cool. Um, but they do collect seeds, and those are mainly for conservation projects. And they do suggest that you use the seeds in the environment close by the environment where you found them too, just in case there is biodiversity in a different area. You don't want to kind of spread different seeds and then potentially mess up the ecosystem where you're going, or so it's a delicate balance. But um, but those wildflowers are very, very cool to see. They are seasonal though, so some will bloom and then be gone. I know. Let me see what's on this next slide because yeah. Where can you find what when? Um, that it's difficult to be able to say where you can find things just because there are so many different flowers, but also because we are in a different temperate zone. Like we're in one of the highest temperate zones, the highest temperate zone in the United States, I believe. Actually, there might be Maine might be a little bit in the northern Canadian one. I'll have to look that up to be 100% sure, but it's one of the highest and the highest in the central United States area. So it's much colder than as it obviously the temperature gets warmer when you get to the prime meridian. So when you go south, it does get warmer, and so you will see more of those tropical-esque type flowers and plants in general the farther south you go. And the same can kind of be said in our particular state. In Minnesota, it is colder up north, and then it kind of gets warmer as you go south. So, and you can see that too in like the changing colors in the leaves, where the leaves up north will change first. And then the rest of the state kind of slowly follows that same trend. Um, so that is a good example of just the variation from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, let alone different states. So it is tough to say when you're going to find something. That's why I think they do have that span of 3 months. Sometimes you can find things that are just almost like seasonably late bloomers or early bloomers. And that is just going to happen sometimes, but maybe not so many early bloomers in Minnesota per se, just because of the snow that we have is. But we've had a couple of warmer seasons here, so I might be wrong on that, but yeah, it depends on the season too, of course. So not all early bloomers are going to be in early spring either. So it is. um, good to look up that information. And I'm not going to tell you any specific flowers here, just because I'm not a textbook, I'm not a reference material, and I'm not going to remember all of the different flowers and when they're in peak or, things like that, just because the seasons are variable 3 months and different parts of the state. So you can um, look that up online, I guess, or in a textbook or any sort of other reference book that you can find. They do sell those, of course, just in any local bookstore. So, but that is one of the things that this website actually addresses. So, since I am not a reference material, this website, I'm going to escape this. I've got there, zoom up, but this website is plantsofminnesota.blogspot.com. It is actually a collection of different plants in Minnesota. They are trying to collect as many as possible on the site. And if you click in, you can see different angles of different flowers. So like this one, let's see. This one says Sartell behind Coburns on pine cone. So it says the specific date that the photo was taken. So you can see, all right, well, in Sartell on September 3rd, this flower is pretty well blooming. Of course, let's click in. It has a few blooms that have not, or a few buds that have not bloomed, but otherwise, see, there's a bud that has not bloomed, but otherwise, you will see a number of blooms in this area behind the Coburns in Sartell. And that is September 3rd. So, and if you do take into consideration that like 3 months or so variability, um, at like around this area, around Minnesota, you might be lucky elsewhere. It doesn't sound that, I don't believe, I don't know if this is a wild area or if it was just like a seed mix situation. I've not seen these in the wilderness when I've been hiking in Minnesota, so this might be from some sort of seed mix. But now you know this one is here, Sartell, and um, you can find it on September 3rd, looking approximately like this. But if you go to let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can find another one. Now this is generic though. This is plants of Minnesota, not necessarily just wildflowers. So we do have plants. We'll have to dig for some wildflowers. Here's some more posts too. Oh, a daisy fleabane. Some of them do have comments. Like this one is trying to identify this one just because it looks like the flowers are closed, which is not how you would traditionally find daisy fleabane. But let's see if we can find another one. And this, of course, is all plants, so it is not necessarily ideal for um, specifically wildflowers, but uh, here's another one, Mississippi River County Park in the Prairie area. And this was just August, so I'll click into this one. Also full bloom here. And you can kind of see the different seed structures. So it is a decent study. Pictures could be taken better so you can see more of the stem and the leaves for just better identification. But it's not a bad start. So otherwise, I don't know. I think it's a cool resource to be able to see, oh, this flower is going to be around here. I mean, you can learn that stuff. I think, state parks or like local community parks have their own GIS systems where you can potentially see invasive species. And there is a cool website that shows you all the different invasive species across the state of Minnesota as they have been mapped. Or, many, and probably not all of them. I don't know if it is comprehensive, but it's really cool to see. And I don't have that website here. I wish I did, and those are invasives, of course, not just like all plants everywhere, um, but it's pretty cool to be able to say, oh, I want to see this kind of flower. Where can I hike? And when can I hike? If you are a big flower nerd or trying to science them, it's good to know where you can find Trillium, at any season and find them at the top of the state, the bottom of the state, and study them in different places. Um, so just a cool idea. Um, are there any questions or concerns for me, just in regards to wildflowers? And again, I'm not actually an expert per se on this. Um, it is something that I am still learning about. Um, but I have enjoyed the journey so far, and it has been a lot of fun just to go hiking and find wildflowers. And I know I enjoy it, and I would love for you to enjoy it too. And wildflowers too are good for so many different things. Obviously they are aesthetic, they're plants, and so they, of course, provide oxygen and they take nitrogen up and so it's they are great for the ecosystem, great for biodiversity, but you can also eat a lot of them and you can use them for tea. I was looking up bergamot tea, and so if you've seen bergamot, it is a wild looking flower. It is very unique. It's not something like a daisy or like a lily. It's fancy. It's got pointies but anyway, I'm not great at explaining, but it's purple. But a lot of them can be used for tea. Obviously, you've got like chamomiles and teas and, you know, echinacea or I think I said that right. But they have a lot of different uses, these flowers, and so you can dry them. You can look into Native American arts and crafts too. So you can obviously press them and use them for art, and just it's very, very cool. So. All right. Enjoy it. Love it. No questions. So I think we are good to go. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later.